get straight to the point. Andy RUIZ, it looks like he wants to fill in that slot that you guys have open for the Anthony Joshua fight. Can you talk to us about that? Can you confirm any negotiations at all?
Yeah, there are discussions with his team. It's not easy, you know, because I think we live in a crazy world right now where everybody wants, you know, just crazy money to even be in fights.
I wanted this own contract, but I'm probably not going to get it.
I know. So he, but I like the fight. I like the fight for many reasons. I mean, aesthetically, Andy don't always look the best, but he can fight. He's fast. He'll be there to win. He's going to have a big Mexican support. He's one of probably 4 guys right now that I think are front runners, and it's really about who takes it first. Do you know what I mean? Like, any one of these guys can phone up and accept a deal, and we could get it done tonight. But it will be in the next 48 hours for sure.
And of course, without giving away any details, but how much is Al Heyman going to come into play to this PBC? I'm not aware, like, if he has a contract with PBC, Al Heyman. Or
yeah, I believe he does. I mean, it's up, you know, at the end of the day, if Al doesn't want him to take the opportunity, can he stop him? Maybe, yeah. But I mean, I'd be very surprised if Al really wanted to stand in the way of a fighter like that within his stable, making a lot of money to fight for the world heavyweight title. You know, so you know, I understand that obviously your you know, your Keith Thurmans and your Mikey Garcias are really important to your network deals. But Andy RUIZ, you know, I believe that Al would want him to get an opportunity like this. I'd like to think so. So I don't think that's going to really stand in the way. But if he wanted to stop it, he could probably stop it.
Well, not to put you between a tough place and a wall here, but the world according to Bob Arum. If you heard his recent comments, what do you make of that? Do you think that's going to come into play? Or?
Well, that is the world according to Bob Arum, and that's Bob all over. I mean, we made a major offer for Ramirez to fight Maurice Hooker this week. So you can't just have it all one way, you know? So, like, if Ramirez wants to fight, it's all very well saying, well, why not let Errol Spence fight Crawford? Well, why not let Ramirez fight Hooker? So, we'll see. But, you know, I don't see the Crawford Spence fight happening anytime soon, to be honest with you. I think, well, I know Spence is going to fight Porter in a unification. It's a good fight. And then maybe after that, I would love to see it. I think it needs to happen. The problem is when there's enough, when the money's big enough, it happens. But the money's not quite big enough in that fight. See, with Mayweather Pacquiao, they couldn't stand in the way. As much as they hated each other, they reached a deal.
Yeah.
But at the moment, Crawford Spence is not a fight where there's so much money you just can't not do it. Hopefully it'll get there. But certainly Bob and Heyman's relationship is not the best.
And you guys are in a good place because basically the tickets for the Anthony Joshua fight were sold based off him coming to America, his first fight. And having Andy RUIZ will only be an upgrade from a Jarrell Miller. Can you talk to us about just the overall?
You say it'll be an upgrade?
Yes, sir.
Do you think so?
Andy RUIZ over Jarrell Miller,
Yeah.
I think it'll be an upgrade.
Okay.
And it would how would the production of the event, how's that going, like, in terms of? Good,
everything's great. We've sold, I don't know, 16, 17,000 tickets. I think he's on the same level as Jarrell Miller. Like, by the way, I think Jarrell Miller I think it's a really good fight, Jarrell Miller against Andy RUIZ. I was actually thinking about it today. He's kind of like the Mexican Jarrell Miller, but hopefully without the peds. So we'll have to see. But, you know, we've got a great show. We've got Callum Smith's going to be defending his world title. Katie Taylor's in the undisputed fight on the card as well. Going to have some big other fights announced shortly. So we're ready to go. Just want to nail the opponent this week, get it announced, and.
So the event hasn't suffered economically at all?
No, I mean, you know, you will be allowed to get a refund if you were coming to watch Jarrell Miller. But without sounding arrogant, most people were coming to watch Anthony Joshua and his US debut. But that said, we still need a credible opponent. You know, you're not going to turn up and watch him fight someone outside of the top 10, and you know. So I want someone. Most of all, I want someone that comes to fight. I want someone that actually wants the opportunity to try and win the World Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden. You know, and I know they're going to want great money. That they should, but I don't want that to be the focus, because I've turned some people down because I know that's all they're interested in. And I also don't want someone that's not in training. I want someone that's been in camp, or, you know, in Andy's case, just fought. You know, ready to go.
Luis Ortiz recently was reported by Boxing that he asked for $10 million for the AJ fight.
Did he say that?
That's what the boxing team reported. And that he was only offered $5 million, which is around 200,000 more U.S. dollars than what Joe Miller was going to be guaranteed to get.
Well, all three of those statements are wrong.
But that's what just was being
reported.
reported.
But I'm just telling you, all three of those statements are wrong. So you're wrong what Jarrell Miller was getting, not you, but they were wrong what Luis Ortiz asked for, and they were wrong about what he was offered.
Was Jarrell Miller being offered more, or being guaranteed more, or being guaranteed less?
No, not far away from those numbers. Ortiz was offered a lot more than that, what you just said.
A lot more than the $5 million?
Yes, and next week, when everything is said and done, I will expose Team Ortiz in triumphant fashion, because I was really pissed off with that story. I actually texted Jay Jimenez and I said, are you fucking serious? Like, we've been negotiating, it's all in black and white. I'll show you. I can show you it now. I'm not going to do it yet, because I'm fed up with people lying about Anthony Joshua. Joshua's the one who come out and went, yeah, I'll fight Luis Ortiz. Even the trainer said, not being funny, you've got 4 weeks of sparring, okay? You've got 8 spars. You're going to switch up to a southpaw? And he went, yeah. So we made the offer, 2 offers in fact. Like, and when you compare that to what he made to fight Wilder, but I'm not going to go into it now. I want to, so badly. But I'm going to wait till we announce the fight, and then I'll talk to you all next week in Vegas about exactly all the numbers and everything, and what these people turned down.
Andy Ruiz and obviously Michael Hunter are the 2 sort of favorites to get the AJ fight.
Yeah.
Is there a front runner in your opinion? Is there one that you would like more? Is there one that AJ would like more?
I mean, look, we represent Michael Hunter, so that fight's a lot easier to do. Al represents Ruiz, so really, it's like, if he wants to give him the opportunity, it's there as well. Style-wise, the Ruiz fight is more exciting, in my opinion. Hunter's a tricky fight. He's a very clever fighter. I mean, there's pros for it. You know, he's got 1 defeat on his record to Usyk, so you can compare Joshua and Usyk. Andy Ruiz has got decent Mexican following. There'll be a good Hispanic interest. Could be the first Mexican world heavyweight champion. You know, there's stories. There's a couple of other guys as well who are well in the mix.
Who are they?
I'm not going into too much, but I've mentioned him in the past. But you know, for me, I do think those. I mean, the main question I get is, who is the front runner? And the front runner can change at any time. Like, I could finish this interview and look at my phone, and there's a new front runner. You know, even Luis Ortiz could come back and say, do you know what? Let's go, and we'll do that. You know, the difference is obviously Ortiz is a slightly different level as a draw than Andy Ruiz, right? So obviously everyone's got a different value. So the pay-per-view numbers in the UK would be less for Andy Ruiz than they would be for Luis Ortiz. The gate would probably be less for Andy Ruiz than it would be for Luis Ortiz. So obviously he doesn't have the same value. But he's not going to take a chance like this just for nothing. He wants a big payday, and he'll get one. But I don't want it just to be about the payday. I want it to say, you know what, I believe, because I believe both
Is that what you think Luis Ortiz was about, just the payday, and not really about the fight?
They do think they can win, but they know his prep hasn't been great. The difference between Hunter and Ruiz, Hunter's in camp. Hunter's fighting May 25th on the Usyk card, right? Ruiz has just finished the fight. Both guys are ready to go. Ortiz hasn't really been training, so he's come back from holiday, but he did box in March, so he's not like, you know, he'll have his base fitness. But I do believe that Hunter and Ruiz both believe they can beat Joshua, and I like that, because I want a proper fight. Like, I don't want to take Joshua to New York and sit there and watch him win just a 2-round walkover job. Like, I know that Ruiz will give everything, and so will Hunter. I've seen him do it in the last 2 heavyweight fights, like fights he shouldn't have won. It's looked really good, and I want that. I want someone that's really there to win, not just someone that goes, "Oh, just get," you know, gets knocked out, thanks, and then gets out of the ring and just you never see him again. You know. So yeah.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on what happened this morning with your
I think that it's tough for us to criticise, really, because I thought he was very brave in the fight. You know, like most people, he got heavy knockdown in the first round, but he was always trying in the fight. He was always trying to engage. He was always jumping in. He was always putting himself at risk to get knocked out. And I think I was noticing that in the corner, in the rounds previously, just every round, he just looked like he was more war-torn. And I felt like there was a very good chance that he was going to get stopped in that fight quite soon. And I think Virgil's made a decision to stop that from happening. I don't see anything wrong with that. The problem is that when you do a pay-per-view fight, you're always up against it from the fans. People are paying a lot more money than they do normally, so they want blood. They want to see the clinical ending. They want to see the knockout. And I think with Amir Khan, that's what, I say that's what he does, but that's what, you know, he's in unbelievable fights. He's been knocked out before. People were watching that fight going, I think Amir's going to get knocked out in a minute. And they wanted to see that. He got hit very low. And I just think it was a timing thing where Virgil sort of looked at Amir and felt, does he really want to continue? I don't think so. But I don't believe, you know, people say about Amir's a coward. He's not a coward. You know, he's a brave guy. He's fought the best. And if you watch the fight back, like in that round, he was doing quite well. He was jumping in, and I was almost watching it, going, oh, because he leaps in, you know, and he puts himself at risk. But that's what people like. So to see it end like that, when people have paid all that money, it's not good news for the show in general. But that's a problem. Now I feel it when I do a pay-per-view show. You're almost praying that it's a great fight, or you know, it's a clinical ending, because you don't want people to start moaning, and that's what they're going to do, especially when they're having to fork out all that money.
With Amir, with that ending, does Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight, I guess, still maybe not salvageable is the word?
It's
but
still there. It's not as
interest?
big. It's not as big. But I think Kell might fight Crawford. I mean, that seems to be the fight that he wants at the moment. I don't think that Kell really wants the marking time fights anymore. He just wants to jump into the biggest fights possible. But you know, Crawford's going to want the big fights, the big fights. But it's very difficult for Top Rank to deliver those big fights.
Kell Brook, you mentioned, would he be coming down to welterweight?
He would do to fight Crawford. It's not ideal for him. I mean, he can do it, but you know, really, I believe he's kind of stuck in the middle, to be honest with you. But it's hard for him to make 147. Hard. But if he's got enough time, he can do it.
Today we just learned that Gennady left his longtime
Yes.
trainer, Abel. You just found out.
Chris Mannix told me just when I finished that interview. Yeah.
What did you think when he told you?
I was quite surprised. I mean, was he in New York with him?
No, he wasn't at that day presser either.
No.
He just made an IG post about it and said it's a personal decision and a career-wise decision.
I saw Abel's quotes from Chris Mannix. Said it was about money. Yeah, I think so.
It was bad what, money?
Money.
Money between who?
Abel and Gennady. That's what Abel said. Apparently, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't like to get him.
Tom still with Gennady.
Yeah, he's involved. Yeah, I mean, look, when we had we had meetings, me and John Skipper with Gennady and his team and Tom, and you know, Tom's definitely involved. I mean, you saw him at the presser, you know, doing his thing. But Gennady's definitely steering the ship. I don't know what's happened with him and Abel. You know, it's a strange time to change trainers, but you know, if he feels like he's going to be better, it doesn't sound like it was a technical thing or it was a improvement thing. It was obviously just a dispute about something, maybe a deal or something like that.
Eddie, leaving a trainer at 37 years old.
Yeah, it's not. But you know, I said earlier in that interview is just because you're 37 and just because you've only got 5 or 6 fights left doesn't mean you can't stop trying to improve or be the best. So if you feel like you can improve with another trainer, I've seen so many fighters in the past stay with a trainer for that exact reason. Yeah, but you know, he's been good. I'm at the end now. I've only got. I'll just stay. Where really, who knows what a new trainer could have brought to their career. So it surprised me though, because I thought those two were ultra tight. You know.
Who could be his trainer?
Good question. There's a lot of good trainers in America. There's a lot of understated trainers. I mean, there's a trainer called Shadid Saluki. Most of you may not have even heard of him, but he trains Anthony Sims Jr. He trains Mike Perez. He trained Lamont Brewster. You know, he's like, there's a lot of guys that don't like the limelight, that you don't really get to know about because they're not putting themselves out there.
Like a Buddy McGirt or something.
Yeah, Buddy McGirt's a good trainer. You know. Danny Jacobs trains, a great trainer. John David Jackson, Freddie Roach. You know, there's loads of guys. But it's a preference thing, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, he's going to want to stay in LA, I think, with his family set up. So.
Abel seemed to be a big kind of mouthpiece, almost a promoter as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that might have some effect as well on Triple G as well. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, they're all questions for Triple G. We can only speculate. I wouldn't like to say something that would upset someone, especially not Gennady. So I like him a lot. No, but he's he's a very classy guy, so it's his business, and it's just, I don't know, sad really, because they were a great team.
Can you speak about the recent selection of the Canelo Jacobs judges? I think it was one judge from the first fight, of the Canelo Golovkin fight.
Steve Weisfield, Glenn Feldman, and Moretti.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe it's the same panel as the last fight, actually,
Yeah,
identically.
yeah, it's a rematch, yeah.
Yeah, to be honest with you, they're three outstanding judges, and we're very happy with that selection. I mean, Glenn Feldman is an outstanding judge. Steve Weisfield is an outstanding judge, and so is Moretti. So, although they might have given a score in the first fight that some didn't agree with, I completely 100% trust those guys to do the right thing and make sure Danny Jacobs wins that fight by any means possible. I'm joking. No, I just think they're really good, honest judges, and I stand by that. And after the fight, if there's a controversial decision, I don't have any feeling that anything untoward. I mean, I don't get that feeling anyway. Like, people talk about, boxing's corrupt. It's like, I can tell you, I think I'd know, and it's not. But hometown fighters, big name fighters, do sometimes get the rub of the green. But sometimes it can work the other way. Maybe this is a close fight, and maybe they give it to Danny Jacobs this time around. But I know those three judges are honest people, and I expect them to make the right decision next Saturday.
Just having now experienced the United States boxing platform and scenery, how much do you feel corruption is in play at all? Like, ever?
No. I mean, look, this is a different market. I think you've got more of a PED problem than the UK boxing.
In the United States, there's more of a
for sure. There's no testing. There's no testing at all. Outside of big fights, as in, the main fights having VADA testing, generally there's no testing. You're completely left to your own devices. So a lot of these kids coming through right now, they don't get tested. So how do we know? Look at Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller signed up for VADA testing. Like, to a program where he knew he was going to get tested every week, maybe every day. And he failed 3 different substances. That was a guy who knew he was being VADA tested. What about if you know you're definitely not? And it's not you might get tested, you might not. It's just you definitely won't get tested. Apart from on the night, which is a complete joke, complete waste of time. So I think, and in the UK, the British Boxing Board of Control has every fighter signed up to UCAD for random testing. You're not going to get as tested as often as you are under the VADA program that we do for big fights, but at least you've got the fear. I mean, hopefully that's enough to deter people. But then Jarrell Miller had the fear, and look what he did. But I just think that going back to corruption, no, I don't, I don't believe in that. I've never seen it. I don't believe it exists. But the PED thing, I think, is a major problem, and I think people have got to act.
Yeah, it's not going to win you any brownie points saying that there's a bigger PEDs.
It's just the truth. I'm not here to win brownie points. I'm just telling you the truth. Of course, there's going to be a bigger problem because it's about 10 times the size of the UK. I don't know how much bigger is, but there's no testing. So of course there's going to be a bigger problem.
Is that something that you plan on changing? With
trying, but I don't really know what the answer is. It's very expensive. You're talking about $40,000 a fight to get tested properly in the way that you should be tested. So you can't do that through the whole bill. But we try for every main fight to have VADA testing in place. But every promoter's got to do it. And some fighters don't want to sign up to VADA. I'm not talking about, the WBC do a good job, but it's not, like, I've got a lot of fighters that are with the WBC that are on the VADA list that have never been tested. So the only way to do it really is to pay for what we do on the big fights, which is every week, sometimes twice a day, or 3 times in 2 days. You just don't know. It's the only way. You can't escape. But think of all the fighters in the US. How many are being tested? I don't know, 10%? Like, it's frightening.
With the rise of streaming, obviously, you sort of jumped on that wagon quickly with DAZN, but now we see like Disney Plus, Apple Plus, others, bigger companies, entering the streaming field. How do you feel about DAZN moving up their price point to $20? How do you feel about it competing with ESPN Plus, obviously owned by Disney, and them opening their own streaming platform? How do you feel about the competition right now in the streaming wars?
I think it's great for the content providers like us because there's a demand for content. When you talk about the price change, I think that was a clear move to reward loyalty. Rather than having people jump in, jump out for free trials or for $9.99 a month, what they're saying is it's $8.33 a month if you buy the annual pass.
Even
Right.
that's still above market value in a sense for like Disney Plus is maybe like $6.99. So you're looking at properties that are multi-billion-dollar companies that are much bigger. That
I think ESPN Plus will change their price point very, very soon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I think ultimately when you're acquiring content like the Zone is quite quickly, not just the boxing, not just Canelo, not just
Everything
Joshua,
else.
but baseball, their new baseball deal, some other big sporting news coming out soon for the Zone as well.
I want to add to that. NFL has been talking about splitting their TV and digital rights
Yeah.
package. Do you know that DAZN has been
They'll be in the market for sure. I mean, the reason like, contrary to what people believe, I don't work for DAZN, right? So they always ask me but what I know this is true because I know the conversation side, but the reason they moved into boxing is because a lot of those rights for other key sports weren't available at that time. They looked at boxing, they thought that's a sport we believe is going to drive subscribers, we can have a significant impact in, but NFL, NBA wasn't available at that time. When those packages come up, they'll be in it to win it. Now, they're very, very aggressive, and this is a big 7 weeks for them in terms of subscriber numbers, because you've got obviously Friday, then you've got Canelo against Danny Jacobs, you've got Usyk, you've got all the World Boxing Super Series, you've got Joshua on June 1, and you've got Golovkin on June 8. So I think they're going to be, I don't know, doubling at least, maybe trebling their subscriber base over that period, because if you're picking up a Canelo Danny Jacobs fight for that kind of price, even if you're taking it for 1 month, you could buy, you could subscribe the night of Danny Jacobs Canelo, get that fight, get all the World Boxing Super Series, most of the semi-finals, get Usyk, get Joshua, and all for your $20. Do you know what I mean? And you'd be paying $90 for that fight on HBO, Canelo Jacobs. So it's great value. They're up against it because they don't have necessarily the promotional power or the cross-promotional power
With the brand awareness.
with a linear partner like ESPN. But they're incredibly motivated, they're incredibly powerful, and they're incredibly smart.